February 26th. Winter is coming to a close, but the chill in the air shows no signs of breaking. My horse Midnight and I have been hunkering down in the mountains. It's cold and bleak, the wind relentless and harsh. But some days, when it calms and the sun comes out, the majesty of these mountains begins to peek through. In my old life, I may have found it peaceful, but the piercing silence out here is deafening. I have seen no signs of any human or animal life, nor of the dead. Could Midnight and I be the only ones left on Earth? Some days it feels like it. Loneliness is a daily emotion that embraces me like a cold blanket. Midnight provides me with his supportive, comforting presence, but it's not enough. I miss human touch. I yearn to hear the voice of another person. And yet, I'm afraid of returning to civilization. Human nature is an unpredictable, a commodity I cannot afford to give freely. And yet, what life is this without having it to share with someone? Thank God for Midnight, though his usual wise expression has given way to a sad, forlorn look. Perhaps he is lonely as well. Perhaps he is missing his own kind, just as I am. The days are short, the nights long, but we must endure. Whatever happens, whatever I'm feeling, I must endure. March 2nd. Midnight is gone, and I am all alone. He must have left in the night under the cover of darkness to spare my feelings, I suppose. Why would my only friend and companion leave me? Despair has crept into my life. Since the dead arose, it has never been so pronounced as it is right now. To make things worse, I have run out of food. I attempted to hunt, but could find no fish, no fowl, no deer. They are all gone. If I am to survive, that means I must leave this haven and travel to the city in search of sustenance. But I am afraid. What will I find when I return to civilization? Will I find betrayal as I did at the camp? Or desperation as I did in my original home? Or worse, will I find no one? Will I learn that I am in fact the last person on Earth and only the dead surround me? I must push these thoughts from my mind. There's nothing left to do. If I am to endure, I must return. I cannot hide any longer. So I pack up my gear and take one last look at the hundreds of stars in this unpolluted sky. I never realized how beautiful they were. Strange how we only appreciate what we have when we're about to lose it. I reach the nearby city and find a stash of canned beans and vegetables in an abandoned bodega. I'm surprised it hasn't been completely looted yet, but looking around, I can see why. This territory is owned by a teenage gang. The food I found is theirs. They've been spying on me ever since I arrived into town. They seem to be the only ones left. I hold my hands out high in surrender, stating my purpose out loud. Within seconds, they've surrounded me. I search their eyes for any hostility, but all I can see is abject apathy staring back at me. 24 hours, they tell me. I can stay for 24 hours, no more. I thank them for their kindness. They motion for me to follow them. I follow cautiously, unable to read their intentions, for they are a quiet group, speaking only when needed. They stare at each other and seem to communicate with their eyes. I follow them as they explore the buildings that make up their homes. There is not much furniture, only graffiti. Each one appears to tell a story of the person who has taken up residence in this space. They lead me down the alley to the building at the end of the street. There in front of me stands Sophia, their leader. Smoke spirals around her. She stares at me with a confusing look. Is it anger? Kindness? Apathy? I cannot tell. One day and one night, she reminds me. No more. I understand, I tell her. She nods and shows me an open cot. This will be my bed for the night. Her cot is opposite mine. It's bare and unadorned. She keeps it uncluttered and clean. She stares at me, waiting for the questions she knows I will ask. She is wise beyond her years. She knows I've been away. I ask her how long she's been here. She says since the beginning. She sends out envoys to find the lost children whose parents have been taken or have abandoned them. Then she invites them to live here until they turn 18, and then they must leave. There's no room for adults, she says. Adults only cause trouble. They bicker. They try to control. They are worse than the dead, Sophia says. At least with the dead, you know their intentions. With adults, you never know what they're thinking, what they're going to do next. I can't disagree with her. Has she seen the dead, I ask. She shakes her head no, not for some time. She thinks they may have left the cities and are now traveling to the countries. It's a good thing I left. I ask her what her plans are. She says she has no plan of leaving. That here she has young, able bodies to protect them if the dead ever return, and to hold their own against the adults that might meddle or try to take away their sanctuary. We can protect ourselves here, she says. You are a target begging to be picked. Choose your next group wisely, she warns me, because alone, no one can survive. And with those ominous words, she goes to sleep, and I am left with my own mind and thoughts. Could she be right? Am I vulnerable being on my own? Am I safer in numbers? My previous experiences beg to differ, yet I yearn for the community that she's created here. But I cannot stay. One day and one night, and then I'm on my own again. April 1st. The sun has come out for a much-needed blanket of warmth and possibilities. Fortune has smiled on me in the form of transportation. I find a beat-up old car on my way out of the city. It doesn't have much gas left, but enough to get me 30 miles, I think. It is enough. I drive down the road, the breeze tickling my hair and face. With it comes lingering wafts of roses and grass. If I shut my eyes, I can recall the time before the change. Days of driving down country roads, smelling the flowers, having a picnic. It seems like such a long time ago. My daydream is interrupted by a rumble from the car. Black smoke starts emanating from the hood. I pull over and attempt to fix it, but it's no use. The car is dead. And so, I must walk. I walk down the road, not allowing myself to stop and smell the roses, for I need to find my next home. I can't be out here on my own. It's too vulnerable. Hours later, my calves are on fire, my feet torn up, but I finally managed to make it to a gas station. A motorcycle is gifted to me. Someone must have abandoned it. I don't know why this gas station has enough gas for a full tank, or why the owner left it. I don't give it another minute's thought. I fill up the motorcycle tank and take off on the open road. I ride for hours, not knowing where I'm going, just knowing that I'm leaving this place, leaving the city, leaving the mountains. What will I find, I wonder? What will be my next adventure? April 16th. Tim has entered my life. I find him hitchhiking on a barren road. My past tells me to just leave him and keep on driving, but my instincts tell me to stop. Tim thanks me. He says he knows of a place in what used to be Arizona. There, he says he's found an abundance of food, water, and fuel. He's been stockpiling for months. I inquire why he would leave all his supplies behind. Tim tells me he's been searching for his wife, whom he last saw in Colorado. He found her last week. The dead had already turned her. He promises if I drive him back to his haven, I would leave with all the supplies I would need. I'm skeptical, of course, but something inside tells me to trust him. Funny, just a few months ago, I didn't trust anyone but myself. Now here I am, trusting a complete stranger with lofty promises. Maybe my experiences with the teenagers last month opened a part of myself that I didn't think possible. Maybe it's hope. That there's still some good people out there. That even if it's just for a little while, that by having some form of companionship, it could recharge me. I dare to hope, take a leap of faith, and agree to his terms. Tim jumps on my bike and we drive for hours through the desert. Before this, I had never been to the desert before. I always thought it would be too dismal and stifling not to see a tree in sight. And yet, as we drive through miles of sand and flat prairies, a calm, serene feeling washes over me. The sun paints colors of red and orange along the sky. The air is hot and humid. For the first time in what seems like an eternity, I can remove my hoodie and let the breeze tickle my arms and neck. This feeling of speeding down endless roads is a welcome change from the slow, monotonous walks I had to do across the country. I know it will not last forever. Even if there is a gold mine of fuel, as Tim says, in Arizona, someone will take this transportation from me, as I stole it from someone else. Time has taught me, luck only stays for a short period before the ground drops out from under you. The fuel will dry up, a marauder will steal it, Tim will betray me, something will happen. I try to rid myself of these pessimistic thoughts. Instead, I just take a deep breath, enjoy the fresh air and the miles of territory we're covering. Who knows? Maybe this time, things will work out. April 30th. We arrive in Arizona after traveling for weeks across the desert. Our food and water is running low, but Tim says his haven is not far now, a few hours at the most. Thankfully, we haven't seen any sign of the dead. Tim says before we met, he came across a whole gaggle of them passed out in a circle in the middle of a forest. They had, by all accounts, starved to death. No more live humans to feed on. Can the dead really die twice, I ask? Maybe. Tim is certain that they've all withered away by now. I allow myself to hope for 1 minute that maybe, just maybe, we are free from their grasp. In the meantime, there's more pressing matters at hand. If we don't eat or drink something soon, we could wither away ourselves. Tim suggests we take a break and scour a nearby town for sustenance. We search high and low, but find no signs of food or water. The town has been completely deserted, save for a few stray animals. They follow us religiously anywhere we go, staring at us with innocent, desperate eyes. Tim asks if we can keep them. He's a gentle, gullible soul. I hesitate to answer. My mind beckons back to midnight, my companion on those cold, lonely days. But then I'm quickly reminded of the bouts of illness, the times I had to sacrifice my portion of food so he could eat, and vice versa. And of course, the inevitable day where he left me. But as I pet their fur and they curl up in my arms, I'm overcome with feelings of love and tenderness. What should we do? My rational brain overcomes my deepest desires, and I say no. We can't take them. We can't afford more mouths to feed, and we can't fit them on the motorcycle. We'll have to leave them behind. Tim looks disappointed, but he says he understands. As we take off for the haven, I force myself not to look back. We finally arrive at Tim's haven. I am surprised to find it's a crashed airplane. He says he stumbled across it about a year ago and has been using it as his home base ever since. He's been stocking it so that when he found his wife, they would be prepared. His eyes look forlorn and distant as he recalls his wife. I can tell they were probably very much in love. I grab his hand and give it a gentle squeeze. We share an intimate look for a moment before he breaks eye contact and begins disabling the many booby traps that he set around the plane. As he does so, I explore the plane some more. It has lost the ability to fly long ago, and it's in rough shape, but its foundation is solid. The interior is in shambles, but I see that he's carved out a small sleeping area in the back, full of fuzzy blankets. He takes me to the cockpit, and I gasp in wonder and excitement at the amount of supplies he has. Bottles and bottles of water, as if they were snatched straight from a bottling plant. Cans of food piled high in the back. I smile ear to ear, and Tim smiles with me. With this supply, we'll be set for a long, long time. He invites me to sit next to him in the cockpit, and we sit there for hours, talking, gazing on all the gadgets, taking in the beautiful sunset. Tim tells me of his many adventures, and I tell him of mine. I squeeze his hand and he doesn't pull away. We just stay like that until it's dark and drift off to sleep. May 15th. The last few weeks have been a joy. Tim and I have left our flightless home little since we've arrived. We take comfort in being the only two people for miles. I regret not taking the animals with us. It would have been nice to have them here to complete our pack, but I try not to think back. Tim has promised me a trip deep into the canyon. He claims the views there are spectacular and beyond what I can imagine. We pack some essentials, lock up the plane, and take off for the desert. Tim volunteers to drive so I can relax and take in the views. The streets, as before, are bare. The air is growing drier and more arid. The breeze so warm it almost burns. Fortunately, I have packed enough water to keep cool and hydrated. As we drive further into the canyon, I am struck by the gigantic rocks. It's almost as if we've been traveling to another planet. When we can't seem to go deep enough, Tim stops the bike and informs me that we must finish traveling by foot. We hike up the canyon, taking in the breathtaking sights. It is eerily quiet out here, save for a gentle breeze that sweeps the sands into our face and the sound of our footsteps. The climb is steep and tiring. We're almost there, Tim says, sensing my fatigue. It will be worth it, I promise. I take another sip of water and wipe my brow, forcing myself to continue. Almost there. Finally, we make it to the top. We walk through a rock path and crawl into an opening cave. I follow Tim obediently and am soon welcomed with the most magnificent view. The peephole of this cave looks over the majestic valley. Tim lays down a blanket over the rocks and invites me to sit next to him. And it's there we have our own little picnic. We've lived on tuna fish, beans, and canned vegetables for a while now, but somehow it tastes even better today. We pretend our water bottles are glasses of champagne and toast to us. As we gaze over the valley, the sun just beginning to set, Tim leans in close and tells me softly that he hasn't felt like this in a long time. I agree, though fear rises up in my throat. I've let my guard down. I've gotten too close. I've trusted completely, which is a dangerous act in these times. Tim invites me to lie down next to him. I comply and he quickly falls asleep next to me. My mind races with conflicting thoughts. I'm happy, safe, lying next to a wonderful, caring companion. So why do I feel like this? This fear and anxiety. It's this feeling of being vulnerable, uneasy and trapped. Is this really it? Is this where I've chosen to put down roots? It's not so bad. It's secure, having a kind companion, a safe spot to live, this beautiful view. And yet, somehow, for some reason, I'm still not content. Maybe it's just all too good to be true. Maybe I can't allow myself to be happy. Or maybe I have more to see, more to do. Maybe, just maybe, my journey's not over yet. May 16th. I trudge through the barren desert, the scorching sun my only companion. Last night, under the cover of darkness, I left Tim behind. Twinges of regret already have risen within me, but I push them abruptly aside and continue walking. It never would have worked out, I try and convince myself. Tim would have grown tired of me. I would have grown resentful, felt trapped. It would have ended in a fight, or one of us running off with the bike and all the supplies, leaving the other for dead. At least this way, he can use the bike to return to the plane, or travel and find another partner. For me, I have enough supplies for a day of two to get me through the worst of the desert. After that, well, I can't think that far. Right now, I just have to keep walking. The sun is relentless, its rays burning my skin and face, but I persist. I must. If I stop, I will die. I must ignore the thirst, my aching back, my torn up feet. I must endure. I just need to keep moving. I try and recall the way back to the main road. After a few hours of walking in this sweltering heat, everything looks the same, and at the same time, everything looks foreign. Maybe I've been walking in circles. Maybe I'm lost. Maybe Tim will find me and rescue me. No, I exclaim. I will endure alone. I will find the path. My journey is not over yet. I will not allow it.